So here we are. I think this is subscriber update number 5 or 6. Thought this was a good time. Just jumped out of the shower, brushed my hair, so I thought this was like the appropriate time to do this. I'm back in Australia. Last time I did this subscriber video, it must have been in Los Angeles before the start of my last leg of tour, which was the second part of America and Canada. It was a really good tour. It was really, really big. Definitely getting towards the back end of the year. It's always, fatigue's definitely starting to set in. And it was a really wide array of shows, like there was shows I did that were really good, like 60 people in cities I'd never heard of. And then I did shows that were like 1,400 people in Canada that were, breathtaking and everything in between. So it was, I feel like this year with America and Canada, it's been very much a process of just like going places and finding out what they're like. And there was a lot of surprises. Like there's places that I turned up that I didn't know if I would, do as much as sell very many tickets, and then there'd be 1,000 people who come out to the show. So that's why it's important, I think, to do like that kind of grassroots touring still, because I might have done like 40 something dates across America and Canada this year. And from that, I know there's probably like 20, all the places I wish I could go back to every year. But I know next year there's probably like 20, 25 of those places I can go back to, and will go back to, because they're, unbelievable. I think this year I think I've got 7 more shows left. I've got these 6 coming up in Australia in the cities. And technically for the rest of this year, I've got then just 1 more on New Year's in New Zealand at Rhythm and Vines Festival. And I think it's going to bring it to over 120 shows from December last year to December this year. And it's incredible to look back on. I think we did something like, trying to do the maths the other day, we might have done the first 30 plus 55. We might have done the first 80, almost the first 80 shows within from December to July. So we did like 80 shows, I think, in the first just in a period of time. That was quite a lot, and I don't think I'll do 120 shows next year. Like, it's been really good, and I was really glad to put foot to the floor. And I've had reasonable downtime, like more time than what I've known to do with, kind of thing. But I don't think I'm going to do 120 shows next year, just because then life very much just revolves around touring, because you finish tour and then you have time off tour and you're like recovering, and then you're preparing to be back on tour again. So no complaints, I love it, but I definitely want to pursue a lot in my life. And I truly believe in maintaining a good kind of healthy life balance. And I think 120 shows, if I was to do that every year, it's just hard. And I think that's the case for most artists, to be honest. Actually, Samuel D. Hall, he actually wrote on his, I think he's got a website or a blog, and he wrote, I haven't read it yet, but he was writing a piece about things he wish he could explain about tour. So you guys should head over to Samuel D. Hall and check out. It should be on his website, his blog. Message him if you can't find it. And I'm sure he's got I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure he's got some interesting insight into, he's good at expressing those sort of things in words. After tour, I went to Portugal, and I was doing some recording there. So I did some really, really great, flip the cat out of the bag, but I did some really great acoustic recordings of stuff, of songs I felt deserved acoustic versions in the last 4 or 5 years of songwriting. So that's going to be really cool. I can't give you a release date or plan on any of that. But I can say that will be one of those songs is Intentions. And I did I did an acoustic version to that song that really made me feel it's exactly where or how I wanted to express that song. And that's cool because that song for me, it has a very produced version, but like the heart of the song is still acoustic. And so when I did this acoustic version and I'm really psyched on it. So that's going to be coming out soon. And I got these big shows coming up in Australia, which is ridiculous. They're all sold out. And I think I'll just take some time to talk more about that once I've done them. Because I think these sort of subscriber updates, I also don't want to just make it just about shows. Kind of tell you a bit about what else is going on because you can find out that stuff. So I'll talk to you guys more about the shows and how they were after. But for what it's worth, we are preparing the whole team's full pelt ahead. We're focusing on how we can help different community initiatives through the shows, which is going to be some really exciting news around that. We're pushing hard with the venues for green touring stuff, which is always like a fun endeavor because it's a bit more work and no one necessarily wants to do the extra work. But thank goodness a lot of the venues we're working with on this upcoming tour are happy to meet what we want to do with our greener touring initiative. So that's going to be cool. Something I'm going to probably do a post about at some point, and I don't think I've mentioned this in any of this is subscriber updates, is for some of you guys, if you followed me the last couple of years, you'd know that I stopped drinking when it was 2015 when I stopped drinking. So, and I actually started drinking again this year. So I haven't really had time. It's not that I haven't had time, I just haven't found the place where I wanted to post about that on Instagram or something, saying, hey, I started drinking again. But for people who've just recently discovered my music, I wasn't drinking. I didn't have a drink for about 4 years, from 21 to, 21 or 20 to 24, 25 just this year. And I was very vocal, not very, but I was reasonably vocal about being really happy and not drinking, because I do think that exists, unbeknownst to most people. But I wasn't drinking for 4 years straight. And this year I decided to start drinking again. But because I was vocal about it, I also feel like for people that kind of followed that part of my journey, I also wanted to explain why I started drinking again. Or maybe I should just explain for people first why I started drinking. I just felt like it was too easy to drink every night when you're touring. And it still is true, that's true. That drinking and touring and music culture, it's like all in one box. And I just felt like I wanted to kind of take a break, and it started off, it was 2015, it started off as like 1 month. I just was like, I'm going to stop drinking for a month. It wasn't like, I'm going to stop drinking 6 months or a year or 4 years. And then I was just didn't miss it at all. And so I continued not to drink. And then all of a sudden 6 months came around. All of a sudden a year came around. And next thing you know, 4 years flew by. And there was definitely some challenges that came with that. I couldn't recommend it more to like hard out quit drinking at some point in your life. It's a really great way to you earn a lot of respect for yourself, and it really divides who your true friends are and what social groups you're in and what your priorities are. And it definitely, as like I was mostly single, mostly single for those periods of time. And so that changes that whole aspect a lot to a much, I'd say probably a very honest, you can't blame it on having a couple too many drinks, all the things you choose to or choose not to do. But then I kind of got to this year and I felt like I had to make a point to myself that I could be and happily live my life without drinking, without smoking, without any of that stuff. And it was really good to know that that is the truth. undoubtedly, like I've had the best years of my life. But then I kind of got to this point this year where I was like, well, what's the thing I continue to prove to myself? Is it proving that I can enjoy my life completely without drinking at all, without smoking at all, like cold turkey? Is that now what I need to prove to myself, or have I done enough of that? And I think the answer was that I'd very well proved the point, and I know that I'm confident because of that extended period of time. I'm really confident that if for some reason I decide to be completely not drinking again, that I could at the drop of the hat. And that's the confidence that you earn from doing those periods of time, whether it's a month, whether it's 2 months, I'm not saying just start. If you want to try it, start in a month. I think it's really great to challenge the narrative that we as young people need to make use of particularly our 20s. Is the only way you can do that is by partying and being wasted all the time. I think that's bullshit. So, I've had just as much, if not more fun, in the last 4 years than I did the previous 4 years when I was drinking. So, as it stands, it's like the drinking I do now. I got drunk twice. I got drunk on the first night I started drinking again, and once at the end of tour back in like March, and I didn't love that feeling. I just was like, oh. So my drinking for the most part since that is like half a beer with dinner, or a bit of wine on the occasion. If I'm having a really wild night, I'll have 2 beers, and that's the extent of my drinking. I still don't drink a lot on tour because I just don't really feel like it. You're already kind of tired and worn out. So, yeah. So I think particularly for me where it's like I'm either all in or all out on a lot of things. And so it was nice for me to go, okay, like where's the reasonable medium on that? And so, that's my kind of story of drinking. And outside of that, other fun facts, I started getting into Ashtanga yoga, which is really cool because I was doing a lot of Vinyasa yoga this year. And I think probably the biggest difference with Ashtanga that I've noticed is how you're breathing while you're doing your yoga. And that's changed my yoga practice completely. So, at least I think it's called Ujjayi breath. It's like a closed throat breathing. There's a lot of focus on like expansion through your rib cage, and then whenever you're breathing out, which often I wouldn't have paid such attention to in the past, you're kind of bringing your organs in against your spine, and I've just found that's like made my stretching safety and ability and like my yoga practice just a different world. So Ashtanga's been pretty cool. So excited to do that this summer. I'd say outside of that, the only other cool fun thing I've been doing is I've been on tour having these mushrooms, not the psychedelics. That would be a much more exciting story. But I've been trying just with like adrenal management and just in general, just be curious. And so I've been having this mushroom called ying, and that's been really, really cool. I felt a pretty positive effect adrenally, like not getting just on adrenal support just because we're touring up late all the time. And so I'm not having it before shows. I'll generally just have it at the start of the day with like some cacao. When I'm here at home, it's with maple syrup because I'm being cheeky, but I'll have it with honey. And then I've been having this other one. What's it called? Reishi. I've been having this mushroom called reishi mushroom as like a little bedtime tea, which is supposed to kind of help calm down your nervous system, which certainly helps after being on stage in front of any amount of people because you get really revved up and really excited about it. So I've been on a bit of a mushroom train, which is just fun to say. So now the next couple of weeks, just preparing for tour, obviously because I'm still entirely independent and we're an independent label. I do have a lot on my plate before this tour comes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So just trying to do a bit of work every day, keep up with the yoga, be down at the beach a lot. I've been a little slack on the meditation since doing the Ashtanga yoga, but frankly, they all fall in the same box. So anyway, that's what my next couple of weeks are like. So there is a very personal, probably one of the more in-depth subscriber updates I've done. Thank you, and I hope you found this interesting, and I'll check in again once this Australian tour is done. Thanks for subscribing, and hope you've enjoyed.